it took me probably about a year, before I got back out there and dated a couple of different people. Met my now ex-husband, who's actually really a pretty good guy, and so it ended up that one of the first things I did was guess. I made sure he knew I wasn't going to wait 7 years to find out he didn't want to marry me. So I had that conversation within 2 or 3 months, and we got married, and things were good, until I began to realize that we didn't have really the same values. Like, what was important to me was not important to him. And one of those things were, I wanted to buy a home. I wanted to have a family. I wanted money and the freedom to travel. And he was a starving artist, and he loved that life. He thrived on it. Matter of fact, he's a stand-up comic, which I was very happy to hear that the stand-up comic tonight is a woman, because that would have been really ironic. And I was a hairdresser, and so the only thing we had in common was we didn't work Mondays. That's pretty much it. So, because comedy clubs are closed on Mondays and hair salons are closed on Mondays. So the last 5 years was really hard. It was really rough, and I kept talking to my friends, I need to get out of this, but I don't know how. I'm scared to get a divorce. I never imagined myself being a divorced person. The worst fear of all is I would feel like I'm a failure. That just crushed me. And a friend came along, and she brought me this book. It's called How to Be an Adult in a Relationship. And I was like, I love that title. And it was a game changer. It really was. I opened up the book, and immediately in the contents, I saw chapter 3, choosing a partner. And I thought, I got to read that because I'm obviously doing something wrong. So I read that whole chapter, and one of the things that he talks about that's so important is that list that I was talking about. And I was like, wow, never occurred to me to make a list for a partner. I mean, I make a grocery list. I make a list before I go out of town, I make a list for the dog sitter, And something as important as dating and choosing a partner, who knew? So I was so excited. I made my list, and I was looking at it, and I was kind of going through each one and checking to see, is my ex-husband number 1? Back then it was my husband. Is my husband, no, he's not 2, he's not 3, he's 4, kind of. Yeah, he could be number 5, number 6, number 7. He's definitely not number 7. He does not have that characteristic at all. Then I began to realize, I think I'm going to make a priority list. So I took 5 things off that list that were the most important things for me. And I call them my deal breakers. And I put them up at the first 5. And when I went through those, and I realized that my ex-husband was none of the deal breakers. And it was shocking because you're in so much denial. That's what we do. We just go into denial. But yet I knew in my heart, I knew in my soul, I knew that this was not the right relationship for me. So it gave me the courage to leave and get a divorce. And that was really hard. But I kept believing in my list, and I kept believing in my soul that wanted that. So I ended up using that list as well to find my current partner that I've been with for 5 years. And this is the person that is definitely my soulmate. And he's just an amazing person. And I showed him my list within about 2 weeks. And he was like, I passed your deal breakers. And I was like, yeah, I know, I'm so excited. And you're almost everything else on the list, And so he actually said, if I had a list, those would be my deal breakers too. And I thought, wow, I am so in the right relationship for the first time. And then, ironically, I think this is so interesting that he also became things on the list that he wasn't, because everything else on the list is a negotiable. It's negotiable, right? Okay. So one of those things that was negotiable was I had a 6.5-pound Yorkie that was like a daughter to me. I never had children. And she worked with me. She was a therapy dog, and she would sit in with me and my one-on-one clients and you know, soothe them and greet them. He was raised on a farm with working dogs, so he didn't understand the whole pet indoor dog thing at first. Didn't take very long, but after a couple of years, he was like, "What are you're gonna take Zoe to work with you? I think she wants to stay here with me." He got so attached to this dog. It was just absolutely adorable. So he actually became that on my list, which was that the person that I loved my dog as much as I did. And we had to put Zoe down 5 weeks ago, and Dave was as devastated as I was. And that made me feel really good. So, needless to say, they can become those things that are negotiable. So, you know, sometimes we don't want to, you know, go, well, they're not everything on my list. It's like, well, let go of those things. But just have those 3 to 5 deal breakers, okay? Okay, so I want to talk to you guys about the list, okay? So I'm just going to give you 3 examples that you could use. And again, you don't have to use these, but they are just sort of a guidepost. So one of them is what I do, okay, is I put at the top of my paper, I put my ideal partner, okay, my ideal partner. And then number 1, they're available. I mean, seriously, that should be the number 1 deal breaker. It is my number 1 deal breaker. And the way that you can kind of work around that is, you know, if you know somebody's from a different city, you know, or you say, where are you from? I'm from San Antonio. Where are you from? I'm from Oklahoma. Well, so that's not too available. However, you can say, if you were to get into a serious relationship, how do you feel about relocating? You know, and be willing to relocate yourself, okay? Because that's not fair if you're going to ask them. But it may be, like in my situation, I owned a hair salon, and I couldn't move to Chicago, that's where my ex was living. And he moved back because I had an ongoing business. The other way that you can also work with that situation is, you know, they're talking about their job, their career. And let's say, you know, they've got a pretty big career. You might want to ask, do you work a lot of overtime? Do you work weekends? If they work 50, 60, 70 hours a week, they're not going to be very available. So just kind of keep that in mind. The other thing that I would suggest, and this is one of my deal breakers too, is lives a healthy, active life. Okay, a lot of people, everybody's different, no judgment here. Some people just really like to go shopping and be indoors, and they like to watch TV, and they've got their favorite shows, and that's great. But I'm very active, and I wanted to make sure. So, you know, that's one of the things you can say. Also, being healthy, you can just say, "Hey, I don't smoke, and I drink a little bit. Where are you on that?" You know, just go ahead, lay it on the table. I mean, you know, don't go out with somebody who smokes if one of your core, you know, deal breakers is, I don't want to be with a smoker. Okay, you're going to waste your time. Matter of fact, I've got a little story about one of my good friends went out with a guy for 10 years. He was a smoker, and she spent 10 years trying to get him to stop. And the more she tried, the more he smoked. And they broke up, and he quit smoking. True story. So just don't even go there. Okay, and then the last thing is, this is the big one. If you want to be married and have a family, put it out there. You know, do you see yourself getting married, having children one day? You don't have to say, with me, you know, that's probably going to be a big turnoff, especially speed dating. But yeah, you can even ask, you know, do you kind of see yourself in a year or 2 years or, you know, however long? And they may not know, but it's worth a try, right? So those are just things that you can think about. And we're going to take a little time, and I want you guys to write down, whoever wants to. Again, this is completely optional, but it is helpful, because even if you don't have it in front of you when you're doing the speed dating, it's already on the subconscious level because you wrote it down. And anything that we hold in the subconscious level will help to direct the conscious mind. Okay? Super important that people understand that. Because have you ever wondered why, like, you're going, how come I did that, or how come I said that? Because something on the subconscious level says, I'm not worthy, or I don't know what I want, whatever it is. And so we want to take control of that, and by writing down even one thing.